If you want to check out different content from myself, I've just set up a second channel where I'm going to post fitness and things. The link for that will be in the description. And of course, if you want to avoid the random lottery of FIFA points, you want to go straight to the source, buy the players directly, use u7buy.com and use the code TVM at checkout. What is going on, guys? TVM here. Welcome back to the Norwich City career mode. We've got a little bit of everything in today's episode. We have matches, we have a transfer, we have players going up for sale, and of course we have league progression or decline, whichever way you look at it and whichever way it may go. The first game against Manchester City was always going to be one of those. I know, like in the first season, you'd probably be thinking, well, it was always going to be one of those really difficult games that we end up getting absolutely battered in. This was second season syndrome, really. So we are good enough to beat Man City for some reason, playing well enough, although we have hit a slight sticky patch to the point where we're not picking up as many points now. And the reason for that, and I think that's a penalty. Let me come back to that in a second. That is a penalty. He doesn't touch the ball. He hits Jonathan David's legs, still hits them. He stumbles. And because he doesn't go down, the referee says play on. It's a penalty. He just hinders him. There's absolutely no way it cannot be a penalty. But it is what it is. Barco gets in here. I thought we'd scored, if I'm honest. I thought that was in. And at that moment, I kind of thought to myself, we need a striker, an out-and-out goal scorer, a big name to come in and to be our Harry Kane, really. Because every time we play Spurs, Harry Kane is the danger man. And I've not really noticed it with many other teams, because we've not really played many other teams who have that out-and-out goal scorer. Aguero, fair enough, he is, but they don't really. I mean, they do have the chances, but that's a penalty as well, in my opinion. So swings and roundabouts, I guess. But we managed to somehow either get a defender in the way of every shot, or the goalkeeper pulls up with a fantastic save. We finished that game at home 0-0. It wasn't boring by any stretch of the imagination. I had fun playing it. It was end-to-end stuff. We could have lost it. We could have won it. But it finished 0-0. And we pick up a point. We go into the next game against a team we've only just played, Spurs. We've played these more than any other team in the world ever. No real change there. Buendia does come in. No change for them either. They play exactly the same side that played against us in the last game, where they beat us 1-0. So I was kind of looking for a little bit of revenge here. We get a penalty 5 minutes in. Kimpembe brings down one of our players. Jonathan David puts the penalty away. Keeps trying to make me take the penalties with Barco, but every time I do, he misses them. So Jonathan David, designated penalty taker. And as quickly as we score a goal, it was wiped out by, well, you can guess. You can hazard a guess as to who gets the goal. It is, of course, Harry Kane. We need that guy in our team. He's too expensive. He's like 71 million. And then they would probably want like 90-something. So that's out of the question. But we do need that type of player. We need someone who can score as many goals for us as Harry Kane scores for Spurs. So we're going to be on the prowl. However, we don't sign a striker in this episode. We sign a midfielder. We will get to that, though. 1-1 in this game. Cyprian bursts through, gets in on goal. Great save from Hugo Lloris, and unfortunately, we do not make Spurs pay for the gap they left in their defence. Jonathan David does really well. Gives a great ball into Barco, who again probably should have scored. And were it a Harry Kane style player, we probably would have scored. Barco gets in again here, plays it to Kubo, turns his man twice, looking for the overlap, gets it in Buendia, who fails to put a cross into the box. And it's cleared, but only as far as Cyprian, who misses an absolute sitter. Unforgivable. The chance had gone, I thought, and I kind of just ignored everything. And unfortunately, I wasn't paying enough attention. Saw the ball hit Cyprian's foot. Just saw his name in lights, got too excited and just snapped at it. My fault. Buendia goes for goal here 5 minutes from time. He got quite close, but not close enough. And unfortunately, that's where the game just sort of fizzled out. The game finished 1-1. We pick up a point. It could have been worse, but it could have been a lot better. I'm hoping next season, after we have another transfer window and another season of progression for some of these players, we will be in a position where we are the Spurs of the league. And I mean that in FIFA sense, not in real life sense, of course. No disrespect to Spurs fans. We play Leicester at the King Power. Leicester isn't exactly a side that I fear too much. The only player that really irritates me with Leicester is Basogog. He is the bane of my life, because obviously I don't want him to score against us. He left us for, I think, a record fee. Barco gets in there, hits the bar, rebound comes out, we can't quite steer it goalwards. First 5 minutes we've shown our intent, but Basogog got an assist against us in, well, a few games ago now when we played them first time round, and I really didn't want him to go on and get another assist or get a goal. I know it's only a video game and there's not going to be any sort of post-match, or I got one over on my team, etc., but in my mind it will be like that. You know, they came really close there. Good effort, but not quite on target. Gilmore plays a good ball to Barco. He's wrestling with the defender, gets the better of Ndidi, and then gets round him, gets into the penalty area, drags it back for Jonathan David, who really should have scored. And even though Jonathan David is a very good player, he's more of a cam, and he scores those type of goals rather than the 6-yard goals. So that's why we need that Harry Kane-style goal scorer, someone who knows where the back of the net is, so that when Jonathan David plays them in and he can't quite get one of those shots off, we can get a goal as well. So that's what we're going to look for, whether it be this window or the summer window, because Greenwood, of course, his loan finishes. But before we talk about that, Jose Perez swings it into the area, then he cuts back on it, then he dithers me around. I had no idea what was going on. Tielemans plays it into, you've guessed it, it's Basogog, and he is so happy that he's just scored against his former club. He got an assist in the first game, he's just scored this time. He goes over to the fans and celebrates, and I don't hold that against him at all. I don't really understand why players don't celebrate against clubs they've just moved from. I mean, there's a reason you don't play for them anymore. I stopped thinking it was a foul our way, and luckily for us, Tim Krul didn't stop, and he made the save. 20 minutes from time, I'm thinking that we may start to drop points here or there now, because we're not playing as well as we used to. Teams are sort of figuring us out a little bit, but Barco got round the outside about 20 minutes or so from time, stops, cuts back on it rather, and instead of passing it, I thought I'd just try and work my way in. Johnny Evans had an absolute mare, blames the defence for it, even though it was completely his fault, and Barco puts us 2-1 up with now less than 10 minutes to play. Greenwood on as a sub, good turn from him, and cuts inside. This is a type of player that I wouldn't mind getting permanently. We should have scored there, that was my fault. Ferreira really needed to do better. Greenwood is a player that we could potentially sign from Manchester United. Of course, he's on a 2-year loan. That expires in the summer. But I just don't know. I'm not getting the heat from Greenwood. You know, I'm not feeling it. He does score some important goals, but just not feeling that that Jonathan David feeling, you know. So we go into some transfer discussions, having just picked up 3 points, and we're going in for Ryan Gravenberch of Ajax. Now, the reason I want him is, A, in real life, he is a real talent, but in FIFA, he does have high potential, and I feel like a midfielder is what we're not lacking, but I would like to get that, right? So we went into contract negotiations, having just agreed an 8.4 million transfer fee. We've agreed terms, and Gravenberch is now a Norwich City player. Now, will he play in the first team? He will play in the next game because we have a cup game against Leeds. However, he won't play permanently in the league ahead of the likes of Cyprian or Sangar. Now, he won't even play instead of Cyprian. He will go into the team in the league eventually when he's good enough, and sporadically throughout the rest of the season, he will go in alongside Cyprian, and then Sangar will play in behind. He is essentially going to replace Ferreira or potentially Kubo, who Kubo will now potentially turn into a striker. After Greenwood goes, I was kind of thinking, you know, we're going to need a permanent centre mid. I can't keep playing Kubo and Ferreira in centre mid. They're good and they can actually play there, but I'm not feeling it. So I've listed Cantwell because we don't need him anymore. I was looking for a few other players I could list as well, but I think Cantwell is going to be the main one for now, and we might get rid of Zimmerman over time. But Gravenberch, at the moment, is going to be one of those sporadic rotation players until we can get him into the 80s in terms of rating, and then he will be a mainstay in the midfield. And then I think what we'll look to do is keep using Ferreira as the sub, maybe in the summer then, depending on how much money we can get for Cantwell and potentially Buendia as well. We may look to bring in a big boy striker, but that's how it goes for right now. We'll see what happens through the rest of the January window. If you have enjoyed this episode, do me a favour and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for new, and until the next time, goodbye.
Football Index. The game changed. Download the app now.